right, good evening. I'd like to call the January 8th, 2024 meeting of the Greenville City Council to order. I'm Mayor P.J. Connolly, and I'll be presiding over the meeting. First, I'd like to call on Councilmember Foreman for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, let's all bow our heads to pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come to you tonight as humble as we know how, and with praise. We come to you where you said, if two or more gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of thee. So first, let us thank you for your presence. And then you said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness in all things. Not one, not two, not three, but all things will be added unto you. And so, Lord, we come to you and we stand in agreement tonight as this council and members of this community to stand and thank you and have your request for guidance as we serve the citizens of our community. And we want to reduce struggling. We want to reduce suffering, God. We want to thank you for your word when you said you will make perfect those things that concern us. And so, God, we want you to guide us. We want to be a reflection of your loving image as we serve. And that is what our desire is, to be more like you and to make sure that people know that someone knows, someone sees, and someone cares. We want to reflect that loving image in your powerful name as humbly as we know how. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Connolly.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Daniels.
Present.
Councilmember Foreman.
present.
Councilmember Blackburn.
Present.
Councilmember Scully.
Here.
Councilmember Robinson.
Here.
Councilmember Willis.
Present.
All right, Mayor Connolly, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Mr. Manager?
No proposed changes.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Okay. Excuse me. Motion's made by Mayor Pro Tem Daniels, second by Councilmember Robinson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the public comment period. Public comment period is a period reserved for comments by the public. Items that were or scheduled to be the subject of a public hearing conducted at this meeting or another meeting during the same week shall not be discussed. A total of 30 minutes is allocated, with each individual being allowed no more than 3 minutes. Individuals who register with the city clerk to speak will speak in the order registered until the allotted 30 minutes expires. If time remains after all persons who have registered have spoken, individuals who do not register will have an opportunity to speak until the allotted 30 minutes expires. Madam Clerk, our first speaker.
Yes, sir. First speaker is Mr. Jerry McRoy. Mr. McRoy, you've got 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jerry McRoy. I'm a Greenville city resident. Me and my wife live in Corey Ridge Subdivision, oddly enough, on Corey Road. Serving as a representative for the residents and businesses of Greenville is a great honor and gives you a great deal of power. And we all know with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
You were voted into the offices you hold by the residents of Greenville. Even though you may hold some influence over the operations of Greenville businesses, those businesses cannot vote for you. Residents alone hold the power to vote in or out representatives, as it should be. I would suggest that you always hold your constituents in high esteem, have their backs, treat them the way you would like to be treated. When they speak, listen to them intently. After all, their votes represent trust in you. I was in this room in November and December of last year attending the meetings of the Greenville Planning and Zoning Commission. A local business who is not even part of the city of Greenville was requesting a change to the city's RA20 zoning ordinance. This seemingly simple text change would have a far-reaching impact across the entire city. A number of citizens showed up at these P&Z meetings to express their concerns about this proposed text amendment change. Those citizens reside in neighborhoods bordering this local business. The zoning ordinance text amendment change was continued from the November meeting to the December meeting because the P&Z Commission members wanted more information from the city's planning and zoning staff, planning and development staff, before making a decision. The eventual vote was a split vote, but the request was denied 4-2. Even though I have not mentioned the name of the business making this request, you likely know who I'm speaking of. I would like to ask you as city council members a few questions. Number one, why would the city of Greenville even entertain this request? The business is not in the city. It offends and angers me that my tax dollars are funding the city's planning office to work with this business on their expansion plans, especially when neighborhoods in close proximity to this business object to those plans. And when the objecting neighborhoods predate the business, please consider that. Number two, why would the hundreds of homeowners up and down my road, Corey Road, and especially neighborhoods in close proximity to this business's current operation, not be the primary concern here? Why are we not being equally represented? The Greenville planning staff has not met with any residents, to my knowledge, to obtain feedback. Since residents elect you, not businesses, shouldn't those residents be your primary concern? What is more important, business development at any cost or overall
And that's
harmony
time.
between the business community and the residential communities? Please seriously consider your responsibility to the constituents you represent. I have one more paragraph. Yes or no?
The council will allow it.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you folks enjoy the peace and quiet of your homes and your neighborhoods, I humbly ask that you consider ours. If any of you have an interest in meeting with me one-on-one to ask questions, feel free to contact me. Valerie has my contact information. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McRoy. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Next speaker is Miss Molly Holdeman. Ms. Holdeman, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Molly Holdeman, and I reside at 776 Whitehurst Drive. The volatility of the crypto industry was made glaringly apparent here locally when Compute North in April 2022 ceased its plans to build a crypto mine because Duke Energy wouldn't sell power at a low enough rate. Compute North filed for bankruptcy that September. What a bullet Greenville dodged. In the January 24th, 2022 Zoom council meeting, despite constituents' concerns about noise and zoning for data processing centers in office residential and up, no council member ever made a motion to strike any zoning from the language or strike that use entirely, leaving the whole city of Greenville at risk for becoming a beehive of crypto mines. North of the river in the ETJ, there are many single-family residences, but most who reside there live outside city limits and do not have representation on city council. The noise alone would ruin not only the quality of life of residents, but also the chances of other companies moving into Greenville and Pitt County. If corporations don't want to come into Greenville because downtown doesn't have enough condos and apartments or restaurants or a performing arts center, why would they want to move to a city with crypto mines everywhere and an overtaxed electrical grid? The same month that Compute North filed for bankruptcy, Earth Justice and the Sierra Club reported, quote, Compute North operates cryptocurrency mining facilities where power is supplied by the Nebraska Public Power District, which spent $17.6 million constructing a transmission line to increase the delivery capacity to the Compute North facilities, not for general benefit, end quote. Have any of you driven down 264 between Highway 33 and 11, or up Memorial near Welcome Middle, or 903 towards Stokes lately? GUC is still moving forward with their transmission line from Belvoir to the industrial park. Crypto mining yields an unregulated virtual currency that is the currency of choice of drug cartels, human traffickers, and terrorist organizations. In October, the U.S. government imposed sanctions on Hamas financial backers who use cryptocurrencies to raise and launder money and evade detection. Contrary to the arguments of 2 former council members in 22, our public utility purportedly making money on crypto or from crypto in no way outweighs our responsibility as a community to stand against immorality. Then Councilmember Smiley asked Shante Gooby if planning staff had contacted other towns and counties that have crypto mines to determine the impact on their locations. Ms. Gooby answered yes, but did not specify. Query which locales those were. When planning goes back to look at these ordinances, may I suggest that they reach out to Cherokee, North Carolina,
And that's time.
Washington County, Tennessee, I'm almost done, and Virginia Beach, Virginia. May I also suggest they contact Buncombe County, which put a moratorium on crypto mining, and Clay County, which banned crypto mining entirely. Former Greenville Planning and Zoning Commissioner Hap Maxwell publicly recanted his vote to approve data processing text amendments. I hope that you will follow his lead and remove these ordinances from the city code. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Next speaker is Mr. Caleb Burrows. Mr. Burrows, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me, council. I want to speak to the heart of Greenville just a little bit. I've been a resident of Greenville on and off at this point since about 2015. I spent 2 years in the Triangle kind of finding myself, and I found my way back to ECU, which was really nice. But in that time away, I've noticed that Greenville has not grown responsibly. I see car washes and gas stations on every corner, and I know that these are ploys by people speculating on property to pay their property taxes until the value goes up and they can do something else with it. But this really kills the character of Greenville. I see gas stations. We have enough gas stations. I can have my gas light come on in Bethel and be comfortable getting gas anywhere from Tarboro to Ayton. We have enough gas stations. We have enough car washes. It's time to be different and to take a little bit of leadership on that and build a proper character for Greenville. And in the vein of leadership, I am once again begging the City Council to stand against genocide and stand for peace and publicly call for a ceasefire in Palestine. Every moment that we do not do everything that we can to fight for peace, we, everybody in this room, me and council, we have blood on our hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Next speaker is Dr. Yoshi Newman. Dr. Newman, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Hello, everyone. Hello to our elected officials, city manager, staff, those in attendance, and those attending virtually. I'm here to speak about the crypto mining ordinance that has been brought forward. And in my mind, it's that vote by City Council stands out as a landmark, landmark poor decision for Greenville for multiple reasons. That decision, around that decision, there was the most organized, well-informed, and largest public opposition to any proposal I'm aware of in the 10 years that I've been in Greenville. Citizens pleaded with city council members, brought forward data, facts, and figures. It turns out that was not, it was not persuasive. So I kept wondering, what was it that persuaded city council to so rapidly and swiftly approve a plan that was strongly opposed by a large citizen group? We have options. I was in this location not long ago. I'm sure you all remember it, last month. And what I spoke about was this being a bright point in Greenville for opportunity, for different and better informed thinking and decision making. So I want to present to you an alternative way of thinking about jobs and economic growth, which everybody wants. When citizens oppose a proposal, it's not because we don't want jobs and economic growth. We want wiser decisions about what that looks like. So let me just read something very quickly to you. This is a model in which growth in employment and income is driven by public and private investment into such economic activities, infrastructure, and assets that allow reduced carbon emissions and pollution, enhanced energy and resource efficiency, and prevention of the loss of biodiversity and ecosystem services. Citizens spoke with City Council about these points. We have experts in our community who will sit down with you and explain to you how this model would look in your decision making. This is called the green economy. I didn't use that phrase because I know in some people's minds, when they hear that word, it triggers something and they stop listening. I'm here because I really want you to listen to that, to see that that is our responsibility. In 2024, we should have been doing things this way a long time ago. So please, this is an opportunity. This is a moment in which we change our path forward as a city. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. Thank you. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Next speaker is Dr. David Ames. Dr. Ames, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Thank you, council members, for this opportunity to address you. I'm speaking for the Sierra Club. Sierra Club is an organization devoted to protecting the environment. It's been around for more than 100 years, actually. And there's a group that's been active in Greenville for almost 50 years. We opposed the attempt by Crypto North to bring this crypto mining program to Pitt County 2 years ago, and we submitted a paper to you at that time. Our basic position is that this program is extremely, it affects the environment in a very negative way. We were able to avoid that bullet when the organization declared bankruptcy or decided they were not going to come to Pitt County. But that's not good enough. You all have seen in the news in the last month the meetings in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East about climate warming. And it's believed that the situation is almost out of hand, and that by the end of this century, those of you still alive will be faced with severe catastrophic changes in the environment. We have an opportunity to do something about that and to ensure that we avoid as much as possible continued emissions of greenhouse gases. We can now go on the record and state publicly that we do not support, and as a county and council, do not wish to have a crypto mining in this area. And I appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ames. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Don Cavallini. Mr. Cavallini, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and city council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm hoping the new year will bring a better Greenville for all of us, especially those who are less fortunate than I am. To those who have not said this personally, I congratulate you all for having been chosen by the people of Greenville to represent us for 2 years. I'm here tonight to thank you, those of you who had the wisdom and commitment to put the question revisiting the city ordinance regarding establishing, quote, modular data processing facility and, quote, data processing center as 2 separate uses and set associated standards and zoning districts for the uses. To put that back on the agenda, thank you. Because now it's before the council as item number 14, and it's before the public. I realize reconsidering this city code change would require a process which involves both staff and at least another look by the city's Planning and Zoning Commission. To that point, I refer you to a Daily Reflector article written by Ginger Livingston on January 15th to 17th edition of the paper, 2022. The title of the article is Planning and Zoning Board Member Rethinks Data Mining Support. This is relating to Hap Maxwell, the gentleman that Molly Holdeman referred to. And I'm going to say this, and I want you to think about this really carefully, because this is somebody who served 2 terms on planning and zoning. Quote, had I known prior to our December 21st, 2021 planning and zoning meeting what I have since learned, I would have voted to oppose the data processing text amendment, said Hap Maxwell. He goes on to say, or is quoted at least by Ginger Livingston, since voting for the city code change, Maxwell said he has researched how these facilities operate and the experiences of people living near the facilities. Quote, I've looked at some videos and read articles, and one person described it as having a giant dentist drill going 24/7 outside his house. End of quote. Quote, another one said it's kind of like having a jet idling on a runway 24/7 across from his house. I don't know how anybody would want that living near him. Nobody would want to live near that.
That's time.
May I just add one sentence to finish off? Thank you. His closing comment, recorded by Ginger in this article, was, quote, something like this could have a huge impact on the community, and it feels like this was rushed through. He said, this isn't a good way to do something like this. We have a second chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cavallini.
Thank you, Mr.
Madam Clerk, our
Chairman.
next speaker.
Yes, our next speaker is Ms. Holly Garrett. Ms. Garrett, you have 3 minutes to address the mayor and city council.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Holly Garriott, and I am the Executive Director of Emerge Gallery and Art Center, which is the home of the Pitt County Arts Council. And I am here tonight to say thank you. As a co-coordinator of the First Friday Art Walk, along with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Downtown Greenville Partnership, we want to thank you and the City of Greenville for being such an amazing partner, and also the belief that the arts are an economic driver, and also a belief and support of the First Friday Art Walk and the Emerald Express. In 2019, when the City of Greenville was named Smart City by the North Carolina Arts Council, the city worked with the Pitt County Arts Council to create the Emerald Loop, as well as the idea of utilizing trolleys that were gifted by the City of Charlotte as a component of the Emerald Loop, which could help our community, connect our community, and also connect our businesses in the downtown district. After a lot of investment of time and maintenance by the city, 2 trolleys became the Emerald Express. Our organizations want to say thank you for this investment and a belief that the Emerald Express offers a fun and helpful service for our citizens and tourists, and also really helps our businesses in the downtown district. They need it so much to bring people and interest to all parts of the district. We also want to thank the staff. The drivers are amazing. The mechanics have kept them running, which has been a challenging situation. But we really want to say thank you. They have been incredible. And last fall, in just several hours, we topped 100 riders on the Emerald Express, which was a record, all-time record. We also recently participated in the Americans for the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study, which the Alliance and the Pitt County Development Commission helped fund that study for us to have details just about Pitt County researched and published. And what that found was that people who attended nonprofit arts and cultural events spent over $33 before and after that event. This is an increase from 2015, where it showed that I think it was only about $25. So that's showing that our arts bring people to our downtowns and also create a huge economic impact. So I want to invite you on the first Friday of February, which will be February 2nd, and also
That's time.
City of Greenville staff and the community to our next art walk, and to take a free ride on the Emerald Express. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett.
Thank you, Holly. Holly, what's the time for that?
5 to 8 p.m. And it's every first Friday in the spring.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Yes, sir. Next speaker is the Reverend Bob Hudak. Reverend Hudak, you've got 3 minutes to address the mayor and council.
Good evening, Mayor Connolly. Good evening, members of our city council, city manager Cowan, and our city staff. I'm here representing the interfaith clergy, standing for the community. As a faith-based leader, I was a participant observer at an open house Jeff Jackson and other Compute North officials hosted in October of 2021, seemingly to meet their new neighbors at Staten House Volunteer Fire Department. At the time, I was unaware that a massive amount of hardware, some 89 modules for crypto mining, had already arrived on the property of what at the time was the property of Greenville Utilities on Mumford Road. It was apparent to me in my initial exposure to this economic initiative that there were serious communication problems, not the least of which was the perception that this was a done deal, a transaction exempt from a more transparent and accountable dialogue with citizens of Greenville, many of whom I discovered because I knew nothing about crypto mining. I was a Neanderthal. But I learned so much from people who would have been most helpful in the much needed due diligence on the impact crypto mining has for a community. It's good for our new city council to know that on behalf of the interfaith clergy standing for the community, I sent a letter on January 24th, 2022 to the chair of the board of directors of the Eastern Greenville, North Carolina Alliance to, quote, please consider a moratorium on moving forward with Compute North until a more transparent and accountable dialogue happens. I concluded my letter to the board chair, someone I know well, consider a dear brother in Christ, raising a question Jesus raises in Mark 8:36. What does it profit a person to gain the whole world and lose their own soul? What does it profit a city to gain $55 million or even $5 million and suffer the loss of its soul in the process? As we both knew, Greenville is a city with a good soul, a very diverse community grounded in many trusting, bridge-building relationships which serve the common good with both transparency and accountability. Saying no to crypto has brought and is bringing more and more soulful people together to speak a truth that needs to be heard with an open and listening
That's time.
heart. Thank you, and thank you especially to you, Mayor Marion Blackburn, for returning this issue to the City Council.
All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Reverend
Father.
Hudak.
Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Mayor Connolly, we do not have any additional registered speakers.
All right, anyone else who'd like to speak during the public comment period, you can please come forward, state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Can you have a re-speak?
Unfortunately, no. Shoot us an email. Or come back on Thursday. We'll be here Thursday.
I got a conflicting meeting on Thursday.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak during the public comment period? Please come forward, state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment period. Move on to, goodness, I scrolled all the way down. The consent agenda, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Or did I skip over something? It's at the very bottom.
No, that's right.
All right, consent agenda. Mr. Manager.
Yes, Mayor. On consent agenda, item number 1 includes sublease agreement with State of North Carolina for equipment on Viper Tower located at 2805 East 2nd Street. Item number 2, resolution accepting dedication of right-of-way and easements for Arbor Hills South Cluster Division, Section 2, Phase 10 and 11. Item number 3, resolution and deed of release for abandonment of a 10-foot wide electrical easement across tax parcel number 73527. Item number 4, ordinance adopting Greenville Utility Commission's capital project budget for the Whitehurst Station Water Main Extension Project. Item number 5, ordinance amending and reimbursement resolution for Greenville Utility Commission's capital project budget for wastewater treatment plant Clarifier project. Item number 6, resolution declaring police Canine Suny as surplus and authorizing his disposition to Officer Nathan Lather. Item number 7, amendment number 2 to existing on-call engineering services agreement with East Group. Item number 8, contract award for the development of the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And finally, item number 9, request for public art on public property, Down East Sculpture Exhibition.
Councilmember Blackburn.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to ask that we remove items number 8 and 9 on the consent agenda.
All right.
And I'd also like to congratulate Officer Lather on the new surplus property.
Not yet.
Okay, soon, hopefully. So-called surplus property.
All right, anybody else want to remove any items from the consent agenda? All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve
second.
items. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you made
He was
the
going to
motion.
second it.
I
He was
second.
gonna
Okay.
second it, so go ahead.
Motion to approve items 1 through 7 on the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Councilmember Robinson, second by Councilmember Blackburn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Jump right to number 8, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 8, contract award for the development of the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. I would call forward MPO Coordinator and Transportation Planner Elia De Jesus to answer any questions.
Good evening.
Hi. Would you like to say a few words about this, or I can ask questions? The reason I pulled this off the consent agenda is this is one of those items that we can, as a community, kind of just approve on the consent agenda, and the public isn't aware of just how huge of an item this is. And if you don't mind, not to put you on the spot, but just take a couple of minutes and just kind of describe what this is and why it's important.
Yes. We have an urbanized area. That means that we have more than 50,000 people living beyond the boundaries of the city of Greenville, that actually constitute Winterville, Ayden, Village of Simpson, and surrounding area of Pitt County. Every 5 years, as a metropolitan planning area, we're required to do a planning update of the transportation vision and the transportation projects. And we every place, as I said, 3,000 or more have these plans. This is just a standard requirement every 5 years. And what it does is it compiles the projects from highway projects. Means highway improvements, widenings, access management, bicycle and pedestrian projects, greenway projects, transit projects, airport projects, and if we have an area, or if we expand enough, we will include ferry projects, hopefully. So it includes all the modes, and as I said, since it's a fiscal constraint plan, it has its own rules, and we have to follow some metrics. So we could put the list and table all the projects that we foresee in the next horizon year. Those are 20 years. And I will say, I will add for this project or this specific contract, since we see that the list of projects that we have so far in the plan are complete or comprehensive enough. There will be tweaks, of course, but it's an update, and we are looking forward.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So this will be completed, when will the update be completed? And it is to span the next 5 years, is that right?
It is every 5 years required, but expands beyond, is actually a 20-year plan. We have projects there that is even more than that, based on the funding sources that we have available, that are available for these highway projects that are very expensive. The plan needs to be adopted by July, is part of the federal requirements. We had we base the traffic demands on the traffic counts so that we could build the models. And the traffic counts, this county does, every county does every 2 years. So the last time we counted, it was 2020. We usually don't use 2020 counts. So we're waiting for the 2022 counts. So we will have a reliable projection of where the growth is going to be in Greenville area, urbanized area. And from that, that's where we're going to be delving into. After we see the projections, we're going to see where the needs are going to be for these highway needs.
Thank you for that explanation, and thank you for all of your work, and of course, the engineering department for all of its work. Really appreciate it. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve this item.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Robinson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Move on to item number 9.
Yes, sir. Item number 9, request for public art on public property, Down East Sculpture Exhibition. I'll now call forward Executive Director of Emerge Gallery and Art Center, Holly Geary, to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett, for coming up and speaking to us. I know we've previously heard about these sculptures, so this is really just kind of a recap. I always try to pull public art off the consent agenda because I feel like it needs to be highlighted and celebrated, and certainly the work that you all are doing. Are there? This is our final vote on this, is that right? And can you just kind of provide a synopsis for where we are and when this will get started?
That's correct. So I came last month and presented the different options, or not options, but what we're hopeful to install, and then are coming back tonight for you, hopefully, to approve it. And then these sculptures will be installed by the end of February and rotated all along the Greenway and in front of Town Common and Reed and Cotangent from Chico's.
We're very excited about these new sculptures.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't lose any of them, did we?
We did. So we do have one alternate coming, which hopefully will also be approved. That's why we always have alternates just in case. This is a very challenging exhibition because the artists do have to wait so long because we've had to wait a whole month. And so these artists put their sculptures throughout the entire country, traveling and installing for a pretty small amount of money with the stipend, both installing and removing it. So within that month-long wait, a lot of times they just can't wait that long. Usually we have about a week where for our indoor exhibitions, a week time frame to let the artists know whether they've gotten their pieces in or out. So that's the situation, and almost every year this happens.
Which one did we lose?
The one that is sort of like a sundial, the
radio. Like with the little panes?
Yes, the panes.
The poly.
Right, yes. So
The Pluma Sculptura, the feather?
Yes, that is correct, the feather. So,
What do we? Which alternative did we get?
Kevin Van Eyck's, the abstract metal piece with the different shapes.
Very nice.
Yep.
And this is a 30-day, the month. It's not always a month, just because we didn't have that second meeting in December, is that right?
No, it is actually a month. So the policy that was put in place in 2020 specified that normally I would have to come and present at a workshop. And then you would be presented whatever piece of public art is recommended by the Civic Arts Committee to be placed on public property. Then it has to be the month after, the next month at a city council meeting where you would vote on it. So typically, it is about 30 days. So.
Would it
that
be
is-
possible to approve it at the next meeting that week?
The policy actually says the first month at the workshop and then move it forward to the next month.
Do we need to change the policy?
Is there a reason for that?
The reason was to give not only council a time to take a look at what public art would be placed on public property, but also to give the community an opportunity to take a look at that as well, to give a little bit of separation, to provide any comment that they might have back to city staff or to city council.
Do you receive a lot of public input?
We have, other than one project back in 2020, when this ordinance came into place, other than that, we have not received any public comments.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will approve this, I would make a motion to approve this item.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, motion's
We're
been made
excited
by
to get the culture in
Councilmember
place.
Blackburn, second by Councilmember Willis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. Let me scroll back up. Let's move on to new business. Item number 10, Mr. Manager.
Item number 10, contract award for construction of new Greenville Gateway sign. I will now call forward the Assistant Director of Public Works, Kevin Heffron, for a presentation.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Kevin Heffron. I'm Assistant Director of Public Works. Pleasure to be here. 2 to 3 years ago, city staff began a process with trying to figure out how to get a new gateway sign in Greenville. So we partnered with McAdams. They're an architect engineering company out of Raleigh. Particularly, Jason Galloway was our designer. And Jason brought to us, and we brought to City Council, a final design for the gateway sign on March 17th of 22 that Council approved. Following that approval, we began the process of talking to DOT about putting this sign on DOT right away. The sign would be located in the southwest quadrant of 587. That is the large, of course, the large interchange just west of the hospital. And this is the sign that was adopted by City Council. It's a wonderful sign. We're looking forward to the project that's get approved. That's a picture of the sign during the day, and there it is how impressive it is at night. So the overall budget for the project was $350,000, and we are looking forward to. We received bids, and the low bid was from Hudson Brothers Contracting, a local firm, and we are looking for council to approve the construction of the gateway sign for $261,000. At this time, I will take any questions.
Any questions?
Could be a great sign.
I think they did an incredible job.
It is.
It's going
I think
to be wonderful.
I was telling the city manager this today. I said, honestly, like when you look back at this, I bet you anything like this will be one of the most talked about things from people from our community. I think as they come in and come back from off 264, being able to see that first presence of Greenville, and I think that's going to be very special for people, and I think it's going to be a sense of home too for them when they come in. So I'm really excited. They did a great job with this.
Yeah, wonderful. This is a marquee project, and Hudson Brothers is just elated to get moving forward with it, as we are too.
And did you say, I'm sorry, I was kind of just looking at the sign, but did you say like as far as a timeline, as far as them finishing? Because I think, Michael, you had said something.
We're going to get started in January and February. We're going to try to get it finished this summer before really the fall semester begins at ECU is really what we're trying to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what happened to the other sign? I know at one point they were discussing putting it north of the river, the old sign.
The Allen Road sign was purchased by DOT as part of the Allen Road expansion or widening project, so they purchased that sign for it to be
So north
demolished.
of the river gets nothing. Okay.
Do you think the mayor pro tem could put it in her front yard?
we're gonna put it right by the airport. You know, we had a whole, y'all got my hopes up. That I've had.
Well, we got this new sign is gonna give us a new look.
But are you moving it north of the river?
You know, really, they just tore it up. I mean, really, why isn't it going north of the river?
Well,
Not your fault.
They
I
sold
don't think
it.
they wanted it.
Well, it was I think it was there, it's been there since 2010, 2009. And I don't know why we decided to not use it, other than we want to upgrade the branding a little bit of Greenville. So,
Yeah, no,
but it was definitely in the way of the Allen Road project.
I wonder if we have many entrances to Greenville, and to Mayor Pro Tem Daniel's point, it'd be lovely to have something up north of the river on 30th.
Well, and this sign can lead us to other signs. You know, this was just the start of more signs at our corridors in Greenville.
And it's not only is it 264, it is I-587. So all of this is really good for us.
It's great news.
It's a good start to get one on the west side, the north side, and the south side of Greenville.
East side.
I said east side too.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. On every section of Greenville, to have a sign like this to welcome them as you come into Greenville, no matter which direction you come from.
Yeah, we definitely need some infrastructure on the airport to make that a more attractive entryway for people as we hope to expand the airport as well.
Sure.
One cool thing I noticed was that the tower was inspired by the cupola on
That's
ECU's
correct.
campus. I thought that was a neat
Yeah.
thing to incorporate. I was curious about why the tower, and then I looked through the plans. and
Yeah,
thought
that was talked about early in
Design
discussions in
element.
the design, with the design team,
Great.
to incorporate that cupola.
What'd you think of the people out there?
It made me think about how big it is, because my other thing was like, wow, 350 grand, that's a lot for a sign. But it is huge and beautiful, and I think it'll be a really great addition to the entryway to the city. Yeah, it's gonna look great. Yeah.
I was just joking around. We had a long discussion about that, and former Mayor Pro Tem Glover she thought that the people came with the sign. And we're like, no, they're just to tell you how tall the sign is. So, but it was pretty funny.
Do we
Need a motion?
move to approve?
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Mayor Pro Tem Daniels, second by Councilmember Robinson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 11.
Yes, another feel-good item, number 11. We have the contract award for the 2024 Rehabilitation and Preservation Project and approval of task order number 5 for the construction, engineering, and inspection and construction material testing on-call contract. Now call forward Civil Engineer Lynn Rayner for a presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good evening.
members of council. So we are here to talk about, this is our annual pavement management contract, 2024, and the associated CEI and CMT task order for engineering inspection and materials testing. We have a listing here of the types of work that are being done through this contract. Rehabilitation is typically what you would call your milling and filling, resurfacing work, and some base repair, ADA ramp upgrades, pavement markings. And then the other bulleted items that you see here are part of the preservation work. Some of you may know that over the past few years we have worked to expand our pavement management program to incorporate some preservation of some of our better performing streets. So that is the preservation work here. And as you can see here, we are treating a total of 48.25 lane miles this year. Some of the members of council that have been here in the past year will remember we had some discussions about 4th Street at one time last year, and staff committed to incorporating some repairs of 4th Street with this contract. And if you look at your list of streets that are included in your agenda packet, that work is included in this year's contract.
Okay.
So here we have just some pictures of the different types of work. Up in your upper left picture, that's a milling operation, which is just a grinding of the top layer of asphalt that will then be repaved with new asphalt. Over on the right-hand side, we have some concrete work for ADA improvements. Then down in the lower left, we have some asphalt paving. Here in the upper left, we have some microsurfacing treatment, lower left, crack sealing, and on the right, again, microsurfacing as well. These are two new treatments for us this year that we're adding to the pavement management contract. On the left is a cape seal, on the right is a rejuvenator. I know rejuvenator may sound like a funny word, but you can kind of liken it to skin lotion for asphalt. It basically just, over time, asphalt can oxidize and age, and it hardens. And so what this does is it reinvigorates the asphalt and makes it a little more flexible, helps it last longer.
So can you, as much as I'd love to talk about that again, shifting over to cape seal, is that just like a sealant? You just put a sealant over it?
It is. It has a little bit of aggregate in it, but it's mostly a sealant. It covers, it's similar to microsurfacing, but has a little bit more aggregate in it, but it is designed to cover some moderate cracks.
So is it, would it look like that, where it would be like black sealant?
Yes.
Okay. Kind of like you would do like a parking lot?
Yes, sir.
Sealant a parking lot?
Yes.
Is there, I didn't see, I don't want to make you go back, but do you know approximately how many miles or?
Yeah, we can go back. So the microsurfacing is 7 lane miles.
Okay.
Yep.
Cape seal is
and then
almost
cape
4.
seal is 4 lane miles.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right. And also, as part of the agenda item tonight, we have task order number 5 with Trans Systems on our CEI and CMT on-call contract. These are the construction inspection, on-site services, and materials testing. This helps us make sure that the contractor is performing in accordance with specifications of the contract. Here you see our financial investment. The top line is our contract amount with contingency. The second item is our CMT and CEI contract amount, and then the total of $4.7 million. And with that, we ask that council would approve the contract and the task order.
Mayor Pro Tem?
What is the lifespan of each of the different items that you share with us?
So typically our the cape seals and the microsurfacing adds somewhere between 5 to 7, 8 years to the life of a street. Crack seal, we usually are trying to get that onto streets within maybe 2 to 3 years after they've actually been paved. So you'll see that actually on streets that you may say, well, we paved that just a few years ago. But as part of a whole pavement management program, we need to get in there and we need to start addressing those cracks early on, so to keep water from infiltrating down underneath. So longevity-wise, crack seal doesn't really have a life to it per se, because it's just treating the cracks themselves. And then the rejuvenator, similarly, probably about 3 to 5 years.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, comments? Councilmember Blackburn?
And that was one of my questions, Mayor Pro Tem Daniels, so thank you. I don't want to get too much into the weeds of how you work, you're the professional. I'm curious about the difference between the treatments, repaving, that involves some of each of these steps, is that right? It is a more complicated and more expensive process, is that right?
Well, repaving is actually, it's actually a separate process. The other processes we were just referring to are preservation treatments, so it's to preserve the existing asphalt that's there. Resurfacing, again, going back to the milling that I talked about earlier, that's grinding up the top, typically about 2 inches of asphalt. So it's taking away asphalt and then putting back brand new asphalt, where the others are treatments of what's there.
Okay, and that's the preferred method for really redoing a street?
Well, I don't know that I can say preferred. Really what we're looking at is a whole pavement management program. So these preservation treatments are part of a holistic approach. Typically, and I know you've been on the council previously, so you're familiar with a time where all we did was milling and resurfacing, which is very, very expensive. It's the most expensive treatment you can do other than fully reconstructing a street. And what we have learned as staff has expanded our knowledge base and talked with other municipalities is that what we really needed to be doing was developing an entire pavement management program, which includes some of these other preservation treatments.
That's a great explanation. Thank you.
I do want to point out, I guess, for some of the newer council members here, when I first got on the council, we were putting in about $500,000 into our street resurfacing. And so just to kind of give you some context of where we've gone to where we are now, the fact that we're putting $4.4 million into our roads is awesome. I mean, it really is. I mean, that was the number one complaint that I had received when I first got on the council. It's still the number one complaint that I receive right now. And I think it's very important. And I want to say big thank you to our staff for you guys for coming up with different ways too. Because I mean, I would love to sit up here and say that we could repave every city street, right? It would be awesome if we had unbelievable amounts of funds that could be able to do every single street in our city, but we don't. And so we've come up with, or you guys have come up with these different ways and creative ways to be able to extend the life of some of these roads that are starting deteriorating, and to be able to come up with even new ideas this year beyond what we were doing in years past. And I know it's not the most desirable thing to be able to go in there and seal cracks. And, you know, to me, I think it looks kind of goofy when I drive on them after they first are done. But it allows us more longevity to be able to get to the point where we can continue to get this number to go up and be able to address more of our issues in our city. So thank you. And hopefully our council members can see that we're making a lot of progress. There's a ton more progress that we need to make, but we're still in a good trajectory where we're heading right now.
Thank you for giving that context.
Yeah.
And we need a motion to approve? And I make it?
I'll second.
All right. Motion was made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Councilmember Willis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. We shall move on to the next item. Gosh, I keep scrolling way down. We'll move on to item number 12, right?
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 12, contract award for investment advisory services. Call for Chief Financial Officer Jacob Joyner for a presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Good evening. Good evening.
Just going to talk a little bit about RP we put out a few months back for investment advisory services with the city. And to give a little background on why we did that, city has a good amount of idle funds, and that is strictly governed under North Carolina statute. It's General Statute 159-30, and North Carolina heavily restricts what we can invest in, and there's a lot of regulations that kind of go into that we have to monitor and make sure that we are properly investing public funds. And our investment policy is governed by the phrase and the practice of safety, liquidity, yield. Our first and primary concern is that we protect public funds, that we don't put them in risky investments, and that we make sure that we maintain their value for public use. And after which, we are concerned making sure that the investments are liquid, which is that we can convert them to cash on a quick basis when needed to. And then only after those two criteria have been satisfied do we concern ourselves with the return or the yield on those investments. And as I said, North Carolina has strict limitations on the type of investments that we're allowed to invest in. Most of which is North Carolina Capital Management Trust, which is a kind of a savings account type investment vehicle, but we also invest in federal government municipal bonds as well. Currently, we work with a company called C2 Investments, and really what they do with us is they benchmark our returns against a fixed income fund, and all they do is make a couple recommendations on investments that we should buy or sell to maintain that benchmark. They do not offer any advisory services or assist in any other fashion. However, over the past 5 years, our investment portfolio has grown significantly, and we have found that it would be more prudent for us to develop a deeper relationship with an investment advisory firm to better manage those assets for the city and to start to focus a little bit more on how we can achieve greater returns or structure our investments to better maintain cash flows. So we issued an RFP for that. And we received four proposals in response to the RFP. And after evaluation, city staff determined that Valley View Consultant was the best option. They are a company that is focused on investment advisory for public funds. They work only with governmental units. They also work with multiple municipalities within North Carolina, largest of which is Durham, North Carolina, as well as Mecklenburg County. And they were also the best priced option out of the proposals that we received. And what they will be kind of doing with us will be advising on cash flow projections, market conditions, and assisting with the selection, purchase, and sale of investments. As I said, they work with Mecklenburg County and City of Durham. They're familiar with North Carolina general statutes and all the regulations that go with what we can invest in. They will provide a client-tailored service according to our needs. And they have a very dedicated team with over 200 years of combined experience in investment of public funds. So the city staff would ask that council would approve a contract with Valley View for investment advisory services.
All right. Any questions?
I just have a question, Mayor. I know that you mentioned that they are working with different various counties within North Carolina, but where are they based out of?
They're based out of Virginia.
Virginia, okay. Gotcha.
All right. Any other questions? All right. I got a motion. Do I have a motion, anybody?
Motion to approve the contract for investment advisory services with Valley View Consulting.
Second.
Excellent. Excellent. I like that. All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Scully, second by Councilmember Robinson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much.
I do have one question.
Next, no, I'm just kidding. What's,
Before we move on,
What's
we
the
do
question?
we do not currently have anyone serving this consulting role with us. Is that right?
That's correct. We do have a company that provides very minimal services, but it does not reach this level, and it's not advisory in nature. It's just very broad recommendations that they offer.
So we are so we will no longer work with them, and we will now work with Valley View
That's
because they
correct.
offer more services, more comprehensive services that we need for our investments.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
all right. Thank you very much. Move on to item number 13. You're up again.
Item number 13, Budget Ordinance Amendment number 6 to the Capital Projects Fund, Donations Fund, and Special Revenue Grant Fund. Again, I'll turn it over to Jacob Jordan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Thanks for coming back.
All right, so we'll be doing this budget amendment to kind of hit a number of capital project funds, as well as the grant special revenue fund and the donations fund. Item A will recognize donations received within the police department for some departmental functions, which will increase the budget $11,750. Item B will be closing out the fire extension number 1 bay extension project and moving the remaining funds over to fire station number 7 capital project to finish up spending on their needs. And that will be an overall decrease to the ordinance of $677,000. Which is what had been spent on Fire Station 1. Item C will recognize funding received from the Opioid Settlement Trust and our Special Revenue Grant Fund, and that will increase the budget $113,344. And item D will be closing out the sand salt storage facility project in the Public Works Capital Project Fund, and the remaining funds available there will be transferred over to the Elm Street Improvement Project within the Recreation and Parks Capital Project Fund. So decrease the Public Works Capital Project Fund by $140,000 and increase the Recreation and Parks Capital Project Fund by $44,870. It will not have any impact to any operating funds within the city on this budget amendment. And we ask that council approve budget amendment number 6.
All right. Any questions? Was that a fake?
No, that was about to be a motion to approve, but I thought I'd let any questions bubble up if they were.
All right, you got it. All right, motion was made by Councilmember Blackburn, second by Mayor Pro Tem Daniels. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Let us move on to our final agenda item for the night, number 14.
Item number 14, discussion of ordinance number 22-1014, modular data processing. This was a agenda item that was requested by Councilmember Blackburn, and I will turn it over to Councilmember Blackburn for discussion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cowan. Yes, I did request that this item be added to our agenda tonight, and just for a little bit of context about why. Ordinance 22-014 came to the City Council on January 24th of 2022. Staff created it when a cryptocurrency mining operation, Compute North, wanted to operate in the Greenville area. Several months earlier, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners had voted down an ordinance that would have allowed this activity in the county. The company then made its proposal to the Greenville City Council. Despite tremendous, widespread vocal opposition from throughout the community, the council passed an ordinance allowing Compute North and cryptocurrency mining to operate inside the city limits and planning jurisdiction of Greenville. The ordinance was sold as a step forward in economic development, a way to make sure Greenville wasn't left behind. The activity was compared in stature to the development of the internet itself, as an inevitable movement the city didn't want to get left out of. In the time since the ordinance passed, however, we've seen more and more horror stories related to cryptocurrency mining. Compute North itself filed for bankruptcy in September of 2022, only a few months after this ordinance passed, with a reported $500 million in debts, later settled by liquidating $250 million in secured assets. Cherokee County in western North Carolina invited in a cryptocurrency mining operation. Since then, it has seen its community fractured by the harms that came with it. The noise created a nightmare. It is the airplane that never leaves, and like living beside Niagara Falls. People are moving away and leaving their family homes. Meanwhile, the county's leaders are repentant and ashamed. After becoming aware of what was happening in the county next door, the excessive energy use, the noisy operations, pollution, and electronic waste, Buncombe County approved a moratorium on new cryptocurrency mining operations in its county. Adjacent Clay County banned this type of operations, and neighbor Macon County is also considering a ban. Meanwhile, the entire nation of China completely banned cryptocurrency mining. China otherwise has no reputation for environmental responsibility, and yet cryptocurrency mining is completely banned. The problems with cryptocurrency mining are legion, gobbling energy like a ravenous alien and spewing out roaring, unending, deafening mechanical noise, unpaid utility bills, power grid nightmares, and environmental devastation from dirty energy are only a few. Indeed, the state of Texas is reported to have paid more than $30 million to a cryptocurrency miner, Riot Platforms, as a way to bribe them to power down to avoid crashing the state's power grid. Ordinance number 22-014, amending Title IX, Section 4 of the Greenville City Code, was a staff-initiated zoning text amendment. Therefore, and because of the overwhelmingly potential negative fallout from this activity, and with little to no promise of actual economic development benefit, I'm asking the staff to put together an application for a zoning text amendment to remove this ordinance.
So I can be clear, you making an motion?
Yes, and I think that can be done by acclamation.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I think this can be done by acclamation.
Okay, so you're making a motion for the staff to amend zoning ordinance 22-014.
To remove.
To remove it. Okay.
To remove the whole ordinance?
To remove the ordinance.
The entire
Okay.
ordinance? Do we have a full understanding of what the entire ordinance states?
We do.
Would you like to read it to us?
I can call it up, but I don't think anybody wants to hear the entire ordinance read.
Mayor, I would say that, and this is a conversation I had with Councilmember Blackburn, that there might be some value in the council having an understanding of what the current ordinance does and does not do, and what changes to the ordinance would do and would not do. And so that everyone can make an educated decision on what's in the best interest for the city. I know there's several new, matter of fact, I think the only council members that were on the council when this was adopted back in 2022 was yourself, Mayor, as well as Councilmember Daniels. So everyone else was not here when this was adopted. There is value in being able to take a look again and understand, because there's more than data processing that's crypto. I mean, crypto is just one type of data processing industry.
Right.
There's other type of data processing industries that we might not want to limit. And what I think a better understanding of what that ordinance does entail would provide staff the opportunity to give guidance, because the decision to just wipe it out and start over again or act like it never occurred might not allow council they might not get what they actually believe that they're getting by doing so. I think that giving staff the opportunity to provide that education back to the council would be beneficial. That doesn't stop you from making that change. You can send that change back to P&Z if you, after hearing that information, after getting educated on what the ordinance does and does not do, and what changes to it would allow, would not allow, you can still make that determination. But I do believe just taking a step by step, and just getting educated on it and having staff the opportunity to bring you up to speed on that would be beneficial to the council.
Max, a question. So prior to the past votes, this ordinance was in place and we amended it to allow for the crypto?
And I'll ask Planner Shante Gooby to come forward and answer that question.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Good evening.
At our previous discussion, today we talked about some of the things that our ordinance did not address. We haven't updated it since the 1990s. So this is a fairly relatively new use. So prior to this ordinance being passed in 2022, it was not on the books. It was not allowed. So as part of the conversation started with data processing, and again, data processing is a big box. Cryptocurrency mining is one little thing. I mean, data processing can be banks, it can be insurance, it can be weather data. There's all sorts of data that can be processed in large quantities. So with the ordinance itself that you have in front of you, there are two types of data processing. One is if it is contained completely within a building, and then the other type is if it is in these modular units that are set up. But at the end of the day, it is for generic data processing. It is not spliced and diced in any way of what the data is that's being processed. But prior to 2022, it was not on the books.
Do you have any examples of like what type of businesses could fall under that type of category?
Literally, it's anything. I mean, it can be an insurance company looking at claims. Every year we have hurricane prediction, right? That's using data to figure out if we're going to have an active hurricane season. It can be banking, it can be healthcare. What medicines don't work? What's the best treatment option? Literally any kind of data could be processed in these facilities.
So I guess I want a clear understanding. Prior to the crypto, we had this for the different areas that you stated, or we did not have it at all?
No, we did not.
Okay, so we put it there and we included everything with it.
That's correct. So let me take you down this road to maybe help give a better conversation. Within our table of uses for the city, we have like literally 200 different uses of various different categories. But at the bottom, we have a use that's called otherwise not listed, and it's a generic use. Those uses always require a special use permit. However, there are no specific standards that come with that use. When this was being discussed, instead of having it as a very generic use with no standards, we did the route that we did, which is we established two different kinds of uses, and then each of those uses have very specific standards. One of the specific standards with both of these uses is there's a 2,500-foot separation between the facility and single-family residences and schools. So 2,500 feet is roughly half a mile separation, and that's separation from the parcel itself, not even from the building. So that was the reason that we did the route of having a specific use with very specific standards. So that would already be part of the recipe if someone came forward and wanted to do this use. If you were to essentially, let's just say, delete this ordinance, that doesn't mean you won't have data processing. What that means is if someone comes forward and they want to do that use, then they are now considered otherwise not listed. They'll be required a special use permit, but the standards we have go out the window. We don't have those standards on the books anymore. So it becomes very vague.
But that gives us opportunity to define how we would like those standards to be set. And the reason that I asked that question was because I wanted to pull out everything that you just shared with us. Having said that, being that this ordinance was created specifically because of crypto, I would be ready to move to second the motion to approve for the removal of the ordinance 22-014 with the heart for responsible economic growth in our community and to protect and preserve the day-to-day lived experiences of our citizens and the character of our community. Kind of going back to what Mr. McGroy was saying, maintaining that balance between business and citizens. So I needed to hear that piece to, feel good about seconding that motion. Because I think
it's not to make a decision tonight, correct? We're directing staff.
Well, this would direct it back to P&Z to address, but I just want to make sure that I'm going to interpret what Shantae just said, in that if you completely reverse it, act like it never was on the books, just wipe it out, a crypto company could still come to the city and apply and be subject to the other uses not defined, apply for a special use permit, and then that would go to the Board of Adjustments that would never come back to council. And then it would be up into the hands of a quasi-judicial board, the Board of Adjustments, to whether to accept or deny that special use permit. And then it goes a completely different direction. And I'll let Shantae expand on that.
So let me just sort of add a little bit, and I just really appreciate all the conversation, all the good questions, and of course our city manager and Ms. Gooby. To what Council Member Foreman just said, if we take this back, if we say we want to start from scratch, when you start from scratch, you might choose to use something at hand. The concern is that this particular ordinance left a scar in our community. And if we want to have standards for a data processing center and we want to say no modular data processing, then let's make that decision. If we want to have these standards as you described them for a data processing center, maybe we want the ones that are in this ordinance, maybe we want different ones, maybe we want to not have it at all, maybe we want to address that as a special use, not permitted. I think that my intention is to direct staff to look at what removing this ordinance looks like, and then for us as a council to decide what as a community, what as a council we would like to see, if anything. And that's my intention.
My concern
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I've spoken. Go ahead.
Obviously, I wasn't here on the council, and none of us were, except Councilmember Daniels. I'm kind of on the same base about the crypto thing, about what we need to do with that, but at the same time, staff spent all this time drafting an ordinance that allows uses to be here that are not offensive and don't do what the crypto does. I don't want to completely scratch the ordinance, but the other thing is, all of us, with the exception of one, have not, Councilmember Blackman, I think you probably studied the ordinance probably pretty good, but I'd like to see it and then figure out if there's a way to amend the ordinance to address the concern you have and the members that have spoken ordinance to address what they have, and then send it back down to planning and zoning, because I know what they're going to say to us, probably having been on that, is that we don't have any direction from council about what they want. I think if we had the ordinance back and let staff give a full presentation to all of us about what uses that are permitted that maybe are not offensive, and how we can keep that in the ordinance if possible, and then send it back down to planning and zoning with a very specific direction about what our intent is as to the crypto mining, so that perhaps they can salvage some of the work that staff's put into it that is permissible uses that we would approve, yet delete the cancerous portion that's so offensive to a lot of people. And maybe do that, and then that way planning and zoning can mark it through, then it comes back up to us. I'd offer that as a suggestion. I hate to completely scrap something when apparently it sounds like there's some good in it that would cover some good things that are not offensive, and just start from scratch again. I prefer that we come back and look at it, us get very specific about the part that we don't want, and then send it back down to planning and zoning to see how they look at it, and if they approve it, send it back up to us. That's just my comments about it.
And that is what this does. The context is removing it. We as a council and staff would come back with recommendations.
I thought you wanted to delete the whole thing. That's my understanding.
We're not voting on that tonight. I'm asking staff to put together an application for a zoning text amendment to remove this ordinance.
Can I just clarify the motion that I do have right now on the floor? Excuse me. Just want to make sure this is accurate, okay? So what I have is, Councilmember Blackburn, you are asking staff to put together a text amendment to remove this ordinance. That's what I have, and that's what I have seconded.
That's it.
So
That's what I thought we had.
I think we need to be very careful. If I'm hearing correctly from City Manager Cowan, if this will result in others coming back to us, coming back for special use permit, they go to BOA. And then the citizens that we serve lose their voice from us. And I don't think that's something that we want to happen.
No.
Because once we can vote, because I voted against it and would vote against it again, let's just be honest. But if we lose it, it's not going to benefit the people that we serve.
I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Well, I'd like to make a couple comments too. I think that what Councilmember Robinson said is spot on too, because I think you've identified specific things that you want out of this ordinance, right? And the ordinance is not as simple as we just went ahead and allowed cryptocurrency companies to be able to operate in the city. If it were that easy, we could go ahead and scratch that and you'd be done with it, right? But that's not what the ordinance is about. The ordinance, based off of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Gooby, but there were actually parameters that were put in this ordinance to make it more difficult for a cryptocurrency company to operate in the city limits of Greenville. Is that right?
There are strong standards as far as some separation and even some setbacks that are more onerous than what we have on some of the other uses, given that at the time we were discussing this, we knew that there were potential issues with noise and even with aesthetics as well. And so that's why those standards were put in the initial ordinance.
And so in the event that we were to take this ordinance and scratch it completely, a cryptocurrency company still could come into our community. They could still apply for a special use permit, go before the Board of Adjustments, and be able to operate with no parameters, correct? So I would be very, very careful before we make those steps and take those steps before we try to fix a problem, but only make it worse. And so my concern is that we need to first identify what the issue is, what you want to address in there, and get very, very specific of what you want to address. If it has to do with cryptocurrency companies, if that's your case, work with the city staff to come up with what that is, bring it back, identify that, and have the council vote on it, and then give direction to P&Z so they do have clear understanding, like Councilmember Robinson had said, because my concern is trying to fix the problem and make a big headline that we fix this problem. We actually exacerbated it and made it worse, and we opened the floodgates for other companies to be able to come here. That's my biggest concern.
And just to be clear, that is exactly what I'm asking for. When we decide to
Not given that motion that was made right there, you just asked staff to come up with a text amendment to get rid of this ordinance.
and we would
And that would be,
I think the better word might be amend the current ordinance. You don't want to throw this ordinance in the trash. You would want to keep it as is until you can amend it after study, after conversation. But if you were to go through the process of deleting this ordinance, and then Mr. Cryptocurrency shows up at my door the next day, you are otherwise not listed special use permit, Board of Adjustment.
So before I change my motion, first of all, if anybody else has questions, concerns, comments, I've got a couple of questions, but I'll let everybody else have their chance to.
I would like to add one thing. I kind of compare this to, I dare bring this up, the Bar 2022 ordinance that was approved by council. Staff came back with recommendations to council and provide them an opportunity to vet that. I think what we're asking for here is maybe for staff to take a look at the ordinance, provide and bring everybody up to speed on the ordinance, some education on the ordinance, and maybe provide some input on things that could be tweaked, could be changed in order for us to achieve the goal that we want. To remove it and send it back down to P&Z and remove it, I don't think would be the best interest based off of the information that's been discussed here tonight. I think a little bit more education on it so that you know exactly what you will be doing in the future would provide some real credibility to council.
And can we look into some of the other counties that we've reached out to see what the outcomes have been with them and what items can be, barriers can be put in place to not have this come back to us?
And that sort of gets at my questions, and again, I don't want to, take up anyone else's time, but I appreciate the idea of amending versus removing. But before I would change my motion, I just have some background questions. Ms. Gooby, if Compute North could have come in and gotten a special use permit and operated, was there a reason that we did this ordinance? Was it because we wanted to put these safeguards in place before they got here? Is that how this came together?
Yes. And Compute North did not want to go through the special use permit route.
But this was after it was not approved by the county and
That
they
is
came
correct.
to the city.
That is
And I was
correct.
one of the people that advocated for the citizens on behalf.
That is correct.
So,
No, we don't have a crystal ball to know what would happen if someone came to Board of Adjustments. But it sounds like Compute North didn't want to take their chances with Board of Adjustment, and they felt they had a better chance by having their own ordinance written for them, or having an ordinance in place.
They wanted an ordinance with set standards that they would know when they were doing site selection that it would work, but that it was permitted by right. Because what that meant is if the use was permitted by right, then they would go through the site plan process, which is reviewed and approved by staff, and it would not be at a public hearing.
And I think that's what concerns me, is this idea of being permitted by right. But I'll go on to my next question. My question is, there's some counties like Buncombe that has banned cryptocurrency mining. I don't know if we have the ability to do that. I don't know if that's what we want to do. I don't get the impression it is. You're shaking your head.
That is not what they did. What they did is under North Carolina general statutes, you can do a moratorium on a use. And that is what a few of them in the western side of the state have done. Clay County specifically did a moratorium on cryptocurrency. Now, how they know it's cryptocurrency and not some other kind of data processing, I don't know. The same way if someone come in today, it's data processing no matter what. But under the state of North Carolina, you can do a temporary moratorium on a specific use. But I just want to read to you the 4 things that you have to do. You have got to make a statement of the problems and the conditions necessitating this. You have to also make a statement of what do you do in the interim. You also have to have a termination date and why. And then you also have to have a schedule for all the actions you're going to take before the expiration of the moratorium.
So that is complicated. What's Buncombe County doing then? It's almost like without the activity, you can't pass a moratorium if you don't already have it going on, or, I don't know, that's.
You can do a moratorium. Again, you can do a moratorium for a use that may show up at your door or a use that you may think is coming at your door. But the logic behind it is you have to have a schedule of how you're going to treat that use, what actions are you going to take, and then you have to set an end date because it can't go forever. And so that's what they did. It's a public hearing process, very much like this. It is a resolution or an ordinance that's passed, but those are the 4 parameters specifically under general statutes for a moratorium.
So I'm going to ask one of those open-ended questions that just gets right down to what we're talking about here. What rights does a community have to decide and to determine and to pass an ordinance to say we just don't want this activity in our community? Do we have the ability to do that?
I think that would somehow, in a very theoretical world here, also be the same logic that someone would have with sexually oriented businesses. There are many places who would like to zone those out of existence, and you can't do that. You have to have regulations in place that at least allow the opportunity for it. So we can't just close our doors and pretend it doesn't exist.
That's an interesting example. I think that probably the key difference here is that they're demonstrable physical harms that happen to a community that gets involved with cryptocurrency mining. There's also $1 million utility bills that haven't been paid when these companies go bankrupt. There's the $30 million that Riot Platforms extracted from the state of Texas just not to crash its power grid. There are true harms that come from this activity, and maybe we don't have that ability just to say we don't want it in our community. I wish we did. I'm reluctant rather, to change my motion, but I will go along with the will of council on this, ultimately, because we represent the people of Greenville, all of us, and if it's the desire of council, and I know that Councilmember Foreman worked extremely hard on this issue, that the motion be amend and not remove, I will certainly change my motion. You seconded it, so maybe if you would like to speak to that.
I agree with that, to amend it, but where my concern came was that when you said, Shantae, that it was created for crypto, that Ordinance 22-014 didn't exist prior to that. So that was where.
And we would have had that same conversation with any data processing. That was the, I'll just say, the entity at the time that showed up with data processing. And at that point, no one had ever asked about data processing, right? Because this is large scale. This isn't something small that's just in a closet somewhere. And so what we did was we worked with Compute North, but we also looked at what was going on in other communities. And at that time, even then, I mean, we're talking a dozen that we were using standards for or looking to see, what were their failures and how to either mitigate it or to try to essentially not have that be a problem. So, we specifically included the noise ordinance in it for any kind of sounds. We did increase vegetation standards. For the modular unit specifically, we added an increase of 100-foot setback for any equipment, again, to try to mitigate as much as we could. But at the end of the day, data processing is data processing for us.
And I guess for me, data processing, I hear what you're saying, but the other business models that you mentioned were not on the level of what crypto mining was. You mentioned a bank, you mentioned a couple of other things. They would not deliver the level of impact on our community or our citizens that crypto mining would have. So that was where my concern was, just noting.
All right. So
So I just want to make sure, can I ask Ms. Regard to repeat the motion? And also, I want to make sure we got clarification on what that motion actually means.
So, I have it noted, Councilmember Blackburn, I am asking staff to put together a text amendment to amend this ordinance. That's the motion.
It is. And like I say, I am very reluctant because I do feel that as a community, we should have the ability to say, we do not want cryptocurrency mining in our community. And I think that Councilmember Foreman expressed the reasons why. Data processing from a bank, big data, data analysis, love that stuff, love crunching numbers. It's one thing to have a few servers, and another thing to have 8 modular units filled floor to ceiling with servers and fans, and they're all trying to get that one number that the algorithm tells them that they need to get for that one individual to get that Bitcoin, and it starts over and over and over, and this is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it's a global energy drain, and that's a specific kind of activity that I believe we should have the right to say we do not want in our community.
I don't know if you're going to say this or not, but in that motion, you probably need some context as far as what the amendment needs to be. Not just send it back and say we're going to make an amendment. I think you need to have some type of context so staff knows what to bring back, so that we don't come back and then they spend an entire month working on it, and then we go back and say that's not what we wanted, and then they go back and do it again. So I think that in that motion, you probably better give them some type of direction of what you want to see amended.
And I think we've had a lot of public speakers tonight. I think they've addressed the issue. I think all of us on council have spoken to this, what our issues are and our concerns are. I think data analysis, data processing itself may or may not be a harmful activity for our community.
Would you like them to explore what other communities have been able to do to prevent that type of business in the community?
I don't want to tell them what to do, because I believe as a community we should be able to decide maybe we don't want data processing at all in our community. I'm not saying that.
I think that's where we come in as the council.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, because if it goes to BOA, then what's going to happen, and correct me if I'm wrong, is only those that have in that area can come up and speak, can be a party to that. It's not all of the public being able to come as they do with us. So if a data mining company comes, then we still have the power in our hands to listen to our constituents to say, is this what we want or is this not what we want?
They will, if we amend the ordinance rather than removing it, though, they will
Correct,
have,
right.
They'll have it by right. They'll have the
Yeah.
ability by right to come here and do their activity. So
Because I see you torn, but I see what your focus is too, and it is on the public receiving what exactly they want.
Yeah, staff will need guidance on what the word amend means.
Right.
Are we looking at bringing back a report to council, again, that provides an update on the ordinance that says this is what other municipalities have done, this is some of the tactics they've used, this is how it could be amended, this is how it could not be amended, to maybe minimize the opportunity for cryptocurrency companies to come into our area? I mean, what
can
does
we
the
look
word
at
amend?
that's why he's the
counties,
city
yeah.
manager. No, I like the way that sounded. And I also would like what he just said is a good idea for looking at how to amend it. I would also like us to look at, the harms at different levels of data processing. If you've got an enclosed data processing center with X number of servers, you don't hear it, you don't see it, nobody gets hurt. If you have this number of servers, it's where you start to get the noise or the other forms of pollution. So I think when we look at amending, it would be good to have that kind of context from what these things actually do when they come into a community, whether it's the modular.
I think that's more of an education piece, in all honesty. The amendment, if we look at other counties or other cities that have prohibited it, because that's the bottom line of what we want, right? We want it prohibited from coming.
Yeah, that's the bottom line of what
That's the
I
bottom
want.
line.
I was about to say, I'm just going
Right.
to be candid. It's
Yes,
say no
'cause
to
we're going around in
crypto,
circles, yeah.
Period. And what do we need to do to ensure that a crypto mining company cannot come into our community? That's for me.
Yeah, I mean, because in all honesty, when they come, their first option was the low-income communities, correct? And then it's north of the river. So even if we do outside of Greenville, we're looking at some of our most underserved individuals.
Absolutely.
And that is not something that we want to see happen. So I know this is your motion, so however you amend it, but don't take away the power, is all I'm saying.
No, and I absolutely agree. I just, before we say that all data processing centers are going to be okay, they may not be.
Right, but that's why you're asking them to find other cities where there's some type of ban or whatever it was, that not complete ban, but moratoriums on it, and see if that can be in place here.
And I will say, I'm going to phone a friend, which is, I am not an attorney. And you have a wonderful attorney, and I'm going to let him tap in if he wishes to on what your desires are. We are here to help.
Very good answer. Spoken like a true
You
professional.
slid it on back.
True professional right there.
No, hey, the zoning ordinance allows council to adopt a motion to restart the process to repeal this ordinance number 22-014. You can do that. You can do that tonight. You can tell staff to bring back, to restart the process to repeal it. And that would go to P&Z and go through the normal process. I think what Councilmember Robinson was getting at, and your motion could be amended to say a report would first come back to council. You could have this ordinance in front of you, so you can know what it says, and you can have a report from staff of how that would look, and then you could vote on whether or not to restart the process. So the power's in you all's hands. So you could order the process to be restarted on this evening, and it would go back to P&Z to amend or repeal ordinance number 22-014, or you could ask for a report to come back to the council on how this would work, what this ordinance says, and then take action.
That would be covered under the motion to amend, is that right?
Yeah, you could amend, you could adopt Mr. Robinson's amendment to have a report come back to council. You
Yeah,
this is an agenda item, have it, you can know what it says, and then take action on what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm not interested in a report. I'd like to go ahead and have some kind of a plan forward, a way to move forward. So I'll stick with amend. I'm presuming that as part of amending the ordinance, we will have plenty of information provided. The report comes with the amendment as we are amending.
So you're saying take it straight back to
P&Z, that's your motion, okay.
I mean, does that give staff time to work on it, or? It doesn't have to be.
I will say you may end up with something that you don't like if I take it to P&Z without coming back to without coming to council. I would volunteer to do a workshop item on this. And also, I would still like to reach out to the School of Government as far as if you can permanently ban a use. I don't know. Again, I leave it to him. I don't know that's possible.
That's why I said from the very get-go, Mayor, that we just need to slow down.
Yep.
Take it just step by step, allow staff the opportunity to get with council at a workshop and to bring everybody up to speed with the ordinance. We can even talk about options at that point in time, and then council can give us the direction from there. That would give the opportunity for staff to do some due diligence through the school of government. Also looking at best practices for other local governments around the state that have already dealt with this. We don't have to move so fast here tonight. We can take one step by step, and bring this back so that everybody has an even playing field on what the situation is and what direction we can go from there.
And I don't think there'd be anything more embarrassing than making a modification and then come back and make it worse than it was
That's right.
before, right? I think that would be mud on everybody's face if we go through it and we make something and make changes to it, and it turns out to be worse than it was before. So
And I can also say, we do not have cryptocurrency companies beating down our door to come into Greenville and Pitt County. I think that ship has already sailed. In many ways, it is gone out to sea, and so I don't believe that we have an issue where this is going to be something that's going to be confronting council in the next week. We got time that we can take a look at this and do it the right way.
If I may, when we talk about a report, though, my concern is we won't just have a report on here's the past and here's what's already happened. I'd like a report, if there is a report that does address the possibility of how this can be amended and what the amendments would do, and as you said.
We can take a look at that. We can't, I can't promise on behalf of staff that they're going to say, hey, we've come up with this, we come up with that. We can give you what we have been able to come up with at that point in time through our research.
And how the ordinance can be amended.
Potentially be amended. Yeah.
Because that's really the heart of what we're talking about here.
I would very much prefer to bring back some options to you with a laid out path of what you would need to do if you want to look at the temporary moratorium, if you want to talk about beefing the standards up or even adding some more additional standards. We can look at what other counties and cities have done. I don't know that many more are any more strenuous than ours, right? Because at the time we did this, there was not a lot of standards on the books. There may be more so now. So it gives us a chance to look and see what has worked in others. And hopefully we can bring you back some potential improvements. But I would very much like for you all to see it and give us your blessing before we bring it back to you sight unseen and it's not what you want.
And that is absolutely what I intended by my motion. And if I need to add the word, asking staff to put together a report on amending this text amendment, if that is a more suitable motion, then I can amend my motion. I figured that would be part of it, whatever happened, whether it was to remove or to amend. I figured all of this was part of it, but it's good to spell it out and delineate it.
Do you want to read back a motion, or do you have a clear understanding of what she's trying to include into the motion?
I'm
Does the
really
city
sorry,
attorney
I do
need to-
not.
No, good. I think she's saying she withdraws her motion and
No,
her
I have
new motion.
not.
But your new motion, you withdraw your previous motion to go back to restart the process at P&Z, and you're asking for a report to come back to council, and council will consider, after the report, taking action on next steps in terms of amending the ordinance.
It's a little bit more specific than
Can
that.
I read to you what I have and you just tell me where to change it?
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yes, let's
Okay.
do that.
So your motion is asking staff to put together a text amendment to amend this ordinance. Tell me how you would like to change it.
I think to put together a report on the text amendment with the intention of possible amendments.
Consideration of an amendment, how about that?
Yeah. And that would come back to council and not go to P&Z, right?
Come back to us at a workshop
For your blessing.
and then go back through the process.
Yes.
Yes, that sounds like a plan.
Is that with or without a workshop?
They will prepare a report for consideration of amending in consideration of possibly amending.
It would be very much like a report that I did today on the UDO, and then there would just be a consensus vote that if the majority of council feels it's okay to proceed, we would initiate a text amendment, or if we needed to come back and make some changes, we would do that as well.
And this text amendment would come from the workshop and go back to P&Z.
And
go back to
I
us.
believe you had seconded her amendment, so I'm not sure where
So
that works.
So you're making the motion based off of what was just said, right? And you've got the,
Can I read it one more time?
Yes.
This is it.
Please do.
Okay. Councilmember Blackburn, your motion is, made a motion to ask staff to put together a report to come back to the city council for a potential text amendment to amend this ordinance, ordinance 22014.
You said consideration.
Consideration, you can slide consideration in there. I understand. I think I get the
Okay.
gist.
For
of what you're trying to
consideration,
accomplish.
and Councilmember Foreman, did you agree to that motion? Are you going to second that one?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay.
Michael, did we do what you said?
What I said in the first 5 minutes.
Any other discussion?
Will we be able to do this next month at the workshop? Is that?
Or whenever?
Yeah, that's what my question was, the workshop piece.
I think that, I mean, do you have enough time for that? I mean, that's kind of quick. That's in what, 2-3 weeks?
I'm asking for March. We're getting ready to kick off the UDO thing.
Yeah.
And what I can do is I can assign this to someone else who can help but they also need to pick up a little bit of the background. So I think your March workshop would be really good for us.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so we got a motion, properly second. Any other discussion? Sure nobody else wants to talk? Positive? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. There's the end of that. Now we're going to go on to the review of the January 11, 2024 City Council meeting. And the wonderful previous council made an amendment where we get to put up the agenda instead of Mr. Manager reading the entire agenda to everybody.
Displayed for the public is the agenda for the January 14th, 2024 City Council meeting. And that will be scrolled through over the next few seconds so that everyone can take a look at what the business will entail.
I feel like we should have like a theme song while this is going on, though.
Like the Jeopardy music.
Yes, some type of theme song.
Introduction to Rocky, Rocky theme song.
I like it. You let me know when you're ready.
We are. There we go.
All right, now we're going to move on to the city manager's report.
So, city manager's report, we do have a third council meeting scheduled for January 22nd, and every month of the calendar year, we normally do have a third meeting. And if they're not items of discussion or motion, that we usually make a motion to cancel that meeting. We do not have any items scheduled for that third meeting, so I would request that city council would make a motion to cancel that meeting.
Let's keep it.
Make a motion to cancel that meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made by
I saw
Councilmember
Councilwoman Willis. She
Robinson,
just like, I'm
second-
ready.
Second by Councilmember Willis. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
So that's the good news. The other news here is that we do have a planning retreat scheduled for Friday, starting on January 26th, moving into Saturday on the 27th. We'll start on the afternoon of that Friday and probably finish early afternoon on Saturday. So everybody be ready. We're going to discuss some very interesting topics, as well as give the council an opportunity to formulate their new goals and objectives for the new 2-year period. So just put that on your radar. And I do not know if everyone out there in the world knows that this is the city's 250th anniversary. We've been around for 250 years. And what city staff will do over the next 12 months is that we will be discussing various different things at the council meeting during my comments to give a little bit of tidbits on the history of Greenville as them things that make us special. And we're going to start here tonight with the unveiling of our Reflections video series. These are a series of videos that staff has put together to kind of tell the story of the vibrant history of the city of Greenville. We're going to start tonight with a video on agriculture. Those know that this city was built on agriculture. Tobacco, cotton. Myself worked 9 years on the farm in tobacco, so I know very firsthand on what that work entails. We have a video with Greenville resident Darlene Crandall.
My mama.
Councilmember Daniel's mama will share a little about her time on the farm. So we're going to let that video roll.
Everyone would work a lot, especially downtown in my area down here. We work in tobacco to save money to buy our school clothes. We got paid $5 a day. And you get up in the morning probably about 5 or 6 o'clock, and you get off about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And there was no thing about, I'm not going, because your parents made you go. And then a big thing that I can remember is across the river at the end there was that warehouse that's on Green Street on the right-hand side. They used to take their cured tobacco in there, and they would sell. The different farmers would bring their tobacco in, you know. And as far as working in tobacco, you would have to take out tobacco. You know, you might run into a snake. My brother, and he jumped down. But it was a lot of fun, you know. 'cause we had to pick cotton too. So that was a big thing. It's not anymore here, but cotton, you had to do that too. And that was kind of backbreaking. And my dad would let us pick cotton so we could make money to go to the fair. And that was it, 'cause we couldn't stay out of school. But the biggest thing was tobacco.
You did a good job.
Someone's run for council.
We, as a community, we are known for our health care, we're known for our ECU pirates, but we should never forget that this community was built on agriculture. These are the type of videos that we will be displaying to council over this next year, and we have a wide variety of events scheduled to commemorate the 250th anniversary of this city. So be on the lookout. A lot of good things coming to be able to blow out those candles on our 250th anniversary. And the last thing I would like to say is that a strong cold front is coming through the area over the next 24 hours. So expecting a lot of rain out there. So please, for our community, please be careful as you travel. Take it a little bit extra slower over the next day or so that we can protect your livelihood and that of others.
And reminder that this is a replay, so everybody that's watching this tomorrow or the next day.
It's too late. It's too late for you.
Is that it?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. We will now move on to comments from the mayor and the city council. Who wants to start? Councilmember Scully.
Thank you, Mayor. Great meeting. Did some exciting things. Wanted to thank all our city staff for all the hard work they do. It was a great presentation from the engineering department about the streets. Really enjoyed our orientation process over there, learning about that as well. So it's really exciting for us to be able to improve our infrastructure. I wanted to thank Councilmember Blackburn for bringing up the issue about crypto mining. I'm against it and look forward to learning more about it and making sure that that we are honoring our citizens and their needs. It's clear by the people that showed up tonight and the comments I've received in the community that it really did hurt, and we've left ourselves open to some negative impacts on our community. And I'm happy to know that we're going to do our best to heal that and to move forward. So thank you very much. I also wanted to mention I'm performing with my daughter in a ballet. If you've never seen a council member in a ballet, now's your opportunity. But the Greenville Civic Ballet is going to produce Alice in Wonderland at Wright Auditorium on January 20th and 21st. So I'm excited about my oldest daughter. I've got 3 daughters. Oldest is 15. So all you dads out there, parents in general, find opportunities to hang out with your kids and to participate in their activities. It's been so rewarding for me. So just find interesting things, coaching. There's all sorts of opportunities for us to be involved in our kids' lives. And I know, speaking for myself, it's been an incredibly rewarding thing to spend time with her and to see what she loves to do and to be part of it in a really special way. So I encourage you all to go out and find opportunities like that to be with your kids and family. So thank you.
And I would like to second Councilman Scurry's thank you, Councilman Scully's thank you to Councilwoman Blackburn about the crypto mining. That did leave a sore spot for a lot of our citizens. As a matter of fact, as we were discussing it, my phone started exploding. So, and that reiterated for me how much of a sore spot that left for our citizens. And I just want us to be reminded that, we are representatives, and our job is to represent the needs and interests of our citizens. And when there are that many of them that are concerned about something, we can't be dismissive about it. I definitely support growth, but we have to have responsible economic growth, and we have to manage that. We have to do it so that there is a clear balance between the growth that we all desire and the day-to-day lived experiences and quality of life for our citizens. That has to be at the forefront of our thought processes, and that is extremely important to me. As I am, born and raised, just rooted in this community. Also, we've had an increase in crime situations over the last several weeks in our community. There have been a few shootings, and people are concerned about that. As we think about the increase in crime in our communities, we've talked about the need for more, all the vacancies that we have with our police department, but I do not want us to be remiss in not acknowledging the fact that we need to be addressing root issues. We have a serious issue. I think we're at a crisis level with our housing insecurity issues and food insecurity issues. And I've presented to our council and our county commissioners over and over to say that if those issues are not addressed, we are going to have an increase in crime. We're going to have an increase in domestic violence. We're going to have more children going into the foster care system, more children being introduced to juvenile justice system, and more problems with behavioral issues in our school system. And so I just want to reiterate and reinforce the need for us to continue to look for every opportunity that we can to address those root issues of housing insecurity and food insecurity, because those are the type of things that drive people to commit crimes or drive children to join gangs. So just want to say that, and with that, I'm done.
All right, Councilmember Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'm excited about 2024. Happy New Year to everybody in our audience, and Happy New Year's to everybody that's watching us. Happy New Year to all our council members and staff. Probably the most important thing that I want to comment about is happy birthday to Council Member Daniels. And I like to think I was the first one that sang happy birthday to you. And you still celebrate the birthday, right? Okay. I'll lead it. If my council will join me, I will lead in singing happy birthday.
I appreciate that. I want y'all to continue to like me. I won't join in with that. I know where my strengths and weaknesses are.
Well, I know where your heart is.
I sang to her not because I could sing. I told her just to remember that it was the message behind the message, not the voice behind the message. Congratulations to our ECU basketball team. They had a big win last night, and if you get a chance, go see ECU basketball. They got a really good team. Starting to see a lot of people in the Coliseum. I hope we see more. So congratulations to them. Excited about the sports complex. I'm also excited that there are some things in the works to work on the Greenville Toyota Amphitheater. I'm excited about that. We're working on that also. I'm excited about the police department getting their raise they so justly deserve. We've been down so many numbers of people for such a long period of time that we need to get those numbers back up, and I think the salary issue is going to address some of those. Also want to remind everybody this coming Monday is a celebration. My office will be closed for Martin Luther King Day, and on that day from 7:30 to 9 there will be a community unity breakfast at the Murphy Center on ECU's campus. There also will be a Martin Luther King Day of service at River Park North from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then on Thursday of this week, there's the Martin Luther King Scholarship Breakfast at the Pitt Community College starting at 9 o'clock a.m. And I'm sure there's lots of other services I haven't covered, but those are some of the ones that came to mind. So I'm excited to celebrate that day of service and recognition for Martin Luther King. With that, I look forward to working with everybody on this council and rocking 2024. And as I always like to say, to grow Greenville greater, this council is going to do great things. I have a feeling for that, and I think the community is excited to see us working together. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Councilmember Blackburn.
Thank you. Les, you have already begun part of my comments, which was to wish Mayor Pro Tem Daniels a very, very happy birthday. She is a Capricorn sister.
Yes, ma'am.
We share that January birthday. Watch out, world, us Capricorns. January Capricorns are a force, and I wish you all the best, Mayor Pro Tem, and I hope you continue to celebrate throughout the month.
Don't worry.
I know you will. And how much I enjoyed seeing your mom. I know where all the grace and dignity and intelligence comes from, that your family, both of you, have it in buckets. So that was really enjoyable, and I know she's very, very proud of you, and I know that you love her as well. I'd like to say that I attended and enjoyed the Pride Dinner, the ECU Pride Dinner on Saturday night. What an event that was. It was, it is held in the name of Dr. Jesse R. Peel, who, of course, also made the naming gift to ECU for the LGBTQ Center to be at ECU. It's the largest one of its kind in the state and all the universities of all of our state universities. Paul Coleman Temple, a.k.a. Purina Chow, was honored. Coleman is a beloved drag performer, and he was honored with the Jesse Peel Advocacy Award. Sadly, we lost Dr. Peel on December 28th, and he was 83 years old, and so many people mourn his loss and grieve his passing. Dr. Peel was personally a friend and a stalwart source of strength for so many people who were dealing with HIV/AIDS or other issues that might have arisen from their identity in the LGBTQ community. He was someone I knew as just incredibly clever and funny and hilarious. And also he was someone who valued longevity and consistency in the LGBTQ community, and that's why he worked so hard for the center, the Peel Center at ECU. We grieve his passing, but we also honor Coleman Temple, Ms. Chow, for their award, and wish them all the best. And I would also like to thank that program at ECU and Mark Rasdolph for having such an event that was such a wonderful celebration. Thank you. That's it for me.
All right. Move on to Councilmember Willis.
Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone, and happy 250th anniversary to Greenville. I was also pleased to hear about the infrastructure projects that we had tonight, and like I said, it was great to get the context in what we've had in the past and what we're doing now. So that's wonderful to see that improvement, as well as I second Council Member Robinson's comments about the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday celebrations coming up. I look forward to seeing everyone out in the community in those different celebrations. And we have our planning retreat coming up in January the 26th and 27th. And I personally would love to have input from the community as to what they'd like to see our focus being in over the next 2 years. So I can be contacted via email, which is on our city website. But I would love to have that taken into consideration as we go into the planning retreat. And that's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem.
First of all, I'm so proud of my mama. Okay, I mean, I'm gonna call her as soon as I leave here and let her know that she was number one. No, you don't want to do that because she's gonna start the story all over again.
It was so good. Let's do it again.
You got one of them too.
Yeah, I do. I love her dearly, and I do want to thank the staff for a wonderful New Year's Eve service at the Town Common. It was my first one. Thank you, Deputy City Manager Ken Graves, for letting me hang out with you and bringing the new year with you. It was cold.
Was he your DD?
Look. I don't know what that means, but anyway.
Designated driver.
Oh, no, I don't drink, so.
Did you have to carry her home like a sailor?
No. It was nice music. We danced, and it was so many people. Everyone was friendly. Greenville came out. We were a family, and I really enjoyed myself. And I know it took a lot of work for our Recs and Parks Department, our police department, our staff to put on such a great program, and I thank you for that. I would like to reiterate the Martin Luther King events, but I would like to say that the Unity Breakfast is free. Pastor Eve Rogers will be the speaker that day, but the event at Pitt Community is $15 and you must register. But please show up, please come out. Also, Thursday, human trafficking, what are they? The human trafficking group will be here because January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. As many people as possible, come out and support. That is such an important topic. So many of our young children, male, female, are victims to this horrible, horrible crime. And as much as we need to bring light to it so it can cease. Thank you.
All right, leaves me I'm going to keep it nice and simple. Happy birthday.
Thank
Mayor
you.
Pro Tem. We are thankful for you and thankful all that you continue to do for our community. Hope you have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful celebration for the entire month.
Yes, thank you.
And hopefully we'll say happy birthday again on Thursday.
Sounds good to me.
With that, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilmember Blackburn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Motion passes 6-0.
Let's go home. Ooh.
We are adjourned.
All right.